On the front page of this day newspaper, the lead story reads, NUPRC targets $10 billion investments, lists 50 oil gas blocks in new licensing round. Komolafe, 2 billion barrels of crude oil, 400,000 barrels per day production expected in 10 years. CEC pledges transparent process, says no chance for briefcase investors. Bid rounds to last 6 months. Commission launches portal. Licensing process for sales of blocks to be fully automated. Total's Energy announces plans to sell 40% of Nigeria's assets to Chevron. And above the lead headline on this day, you'd find more stories just above the picture showing the NSA meeting the Catholic priest over the abduction of pupils. Defence Minister Badaru resigns. Tinubu considers ex-CDS Christopher Musa as likely replacement. Coup aftermath. Nigeria offers protection for Guinea-Bissau opposition candidate Diaz. Those are the headlines as captured on this day newspaper. Now, these are the stories that would inform our discussions on the program this morning. You're invited to be a part of the discussion. You can lend your thoughts, comments, and opinion on either of our social media pages, be it Facebook, Instagram, or on X. However, remember to refrain from using information inciting comments when you look to lend your thoughts. Let's look to contribute incivility to the issues as they affect Nigeria. Our guest reviewer would be joining us virtually. He is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Courier newspaper, Mr. Seun Oni. If we have that connection established, let's see if we can get Mr. Seun to lend his thoughts to the discussions making the rounds. Hello, good morning to you, Mr. Seun. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Mr. Brian. What a beautiful day.
A beautiful day indeed. Welcome and thanks for choosing to lend your thoughts to the stories being discussed this morning. And we'll start at the very first story. Amid the rise in banditry and insecurity, it seems to be another blow suffered as Nigeria's Defence Minister Badaru resigns based on health grounds. His resignation has been well accepted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but we hear in the news that the ex-CDS, Christopher Musa, might be amongst the likely replacements being considered by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. First off, would like to get your assessments of how much of a blow this is in terms of the resignation and the potentials for a likely replacement who would tend to the issues in terms of our defense needs.
Well, you call it a blow. I call it a bow out. A bow out because from ab initio, it was obvious that the former Kebbi State governor was actually not the right fit for that office. Bear in mind the wide scale, the depth, the far reach of the insecurity that has become protracted in the country. So everyone was actually looking forward to having a Minister of Defense who knows his onions, who has some security, or you want to say defense background. So by every strand of the word qualify, he really does not fit the bill. It's not surprising, therefore, that under his watch, the security issue escalated, became something that was getting to a point that was even quite embarrassing to the government of the day. And so when I saw that resignation letter yesterday, I knew, I expected that something of that nature would happen, but I never knew it would be that soon. Having said that, you must also not forget the angle of the U.S. pressure on the government because of the Christian genocide label that was slammed on Nigeria. And we have now, getting to the point where the president says we should be considered as a country of concern. That became a major concern to the federal government, whose relationship with the United States of America since the period of the former, at least I can say consecutively, 3 presidents now, have not had the best of relationship. Our relationship at best had been a bit just patchy from the days of Goodluck Jonathan. We knew how the hostile relationship that happened during that period. The 8 years of Buhari administration also suffered that frosty relationship. But it got to its worst when President Trump went on Truth Social and tweeted that Nigeria, labeled us with quite some unprintable names. So I learned the last meeting that the NSA attended together with some high-ranking government officials, the AGF, the minister, the chief of defense, the chief of military intelligence, and several others. One of the things they told them was that a major reason why it seems that the people who should provide the information to fight this war are not providing the information is that there is a sense that where the decision should be taken is actually a bit choked by one religion. And so, to prove that there is no religious tweet and bent, if you want to say slant, to how the insecurity in the country is being fought and prosecuted, there must be an intention to, of course, work and make sure that there is a semblance of balance. And one of the things I think Badaru, unfortunately, because we know this government, that is not a government that is quite quick to shove people aside. If the antecedent for the past 3 years is anything to go by, you must have gotten to that point where there is nothing else to be done. So I want to believe that's one of the reasons why Badaru was sacrificed. Somebody said on head grant. That language seems to be peculiar to this administration. The
because
former chairman of APC
was also said to have resigned on health grounds. I see where you're going with this, but importantly is the question of technocrats versus political patronage. Because a 63-year-old two-time governor of Jigawa State who has served the best of his years in service to his country, being appointed, who took over from the ex-CDS Christopher Musa, who is now being named as a likely replacement. What's the need for us to have well-served technocrats, persons who have served in the armed forces, who are capable of reading the defense strategies that we need to deploy at such a time like this, other than have more or less political appointments in sensitive positions as a Minister of Defense?
Thank you. I was hoping to climax there, but just to take us a bit back, if you check in your archive, our conversation last week was actually centered a bit on the question you just asked. The fact that we seems to be a people who really don't understand how to handle emergency issues. And I think I also made a forecast that we would have the president wake up and say that the security situation in the country had reached a point where we are in a state of emergency. I think we also were right last week when we said that the northern governor would no longer play politics with insecurity. And their meeting yesterday, I want to believe we'll come back to that. So to the question you asked, politics seems to take the better side of actual delivery in the appointment into sensitive ministerial position. And the Ministry of Defense, unfortunately, was one of the victims. Badaru, if you follow his antecedent, The man, by every way you want to explain it, is a good man. He's a brilliant man. I think by my privilege of covering politics, I've been able to come close to him while he was governor. And very importantly, the role he played in the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one that those of us who cover politics, we are quite abreast of. It was more like the one who rallied men, resources, all the that actually many people really did not know that he was actually that silent mover and shaker prior to the emergence of the president, especially months into that victory that we saw. So I want to think that his ability to get things done, as someone, a high-ranking person in the APC, told me I think about few months before the swearing in of the president, or let me say a few weeks to the swearing in of the president, he told me that if anyone is going to get a position that will be maybe the juiciest, like we like saying, that is going to be Badaru. So I was asking why. He said that they actually call him Mr. Mover, that he has the ability, just give him a task, he will not sit until he gets it done. And so I think that was one of the things that blinded them. They gave him that defense ministry, but he doesn't have what it takes. A nation that has been battling terrorism, banditry, kidnapping for more than a decade, will really not be seen as a serious country. Bringing a politician without a military background, the defense, intelligence required to midwife our resources together, marshal our men, the boots, the resources, the machines, and ensure that we gain victory. And consistently, we missed it in that area. That is what we will get if we have somebody like we have been hearing, the immediate past CDS, General Musa Christopher. If we have him as the Minister of Defense, I will definitely be able to get that.
But Mr. Sherwood, there had been a reshuffling. He was first appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in June of 2023, talking about General Christopher Musa. Following a reshuffling, he was now more or less reshuffled. We had Lieutenant General Olufemi Oloyede succeed him as then the army chief. Why do you think the president will go back down the line to bring him back again? Are there no better serving hands? I know he was part of the course 38, regular course of the Nigerian Defence Academy, and that puts him well above a lot of his colleagues in terms of the pecking order. But then again, shouldn't we try a new hand in terms of finding different solutions to our problem?
You know, I was one of the people, and I said it very clearly here, who felt that the statement I made at the time was that I think the president was right, reshuffling his chief of staffs. But something was missing in that reshuffling. Too much emphasis was given to what we call federal character. And so if you were in Mr. President's shoe, we had, let me use empirical evidence. We had kidnappings once in a month, or let's say 2-3 times in a month at most, while General Christopher was the chief of defense staff. And so people started making noise, rejig your security architecture and the rest of them. You pull them out of that place. And insecurity escalated to the point that you started having 3 kidnaps per day. Then something must tell you, if I were in the shoe of the president, that this man knows his onions. He knows something. And if we are journalists, we followed the, you need to get close to serving military officials and just get the feedback from his exit, the way he exited the office. Many of them felt he has reached the peak. I learned he was actually the only one in his coursemate that was still in service. But much more importantly, they felt that there was a charisma, a leadership that he brought to that hem of our military that we have not seen in a few years. I think there were a few of them who told me that we've probably not seen any CDS like him in at least the past 2 decades. The event after his exit in office seemed to have corroborated that claim. And so, if he's brought back to now sit in an office where he can now coordinate his juniors, direct juniors, don't forget that as a civilian, there is a limit to which you can give some of these. He will not be giving direct, what you call military strategies. It will be the job of the chief of defense and other service chiefs. But because he just left office barely a few weeks, he will definitely know some strategies, some secrets, some know-hows that I don't think anybody is better suited, more qualified at this time to do that job. That's my opinion.
Well, duly noted, sir. We'll come to it because we also have some reports filtering in that ex-CDS General Christopher Musa was sighted at the villa yesterday towards the wee hours of the night, meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is pending any names sent to the Senate for confirmation by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as to who would be the replacement for the now outgone Badaru Abubakar, a 63-year-old two-term governor of Jigawa State. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see how that unfolds. But let's come to another issue, and this was off the back of yesterday's Kaduna Summit, like it's now being called, where the 19 northern governors and 19 northern traditional rulers met to decide their joint position on how to tackle banditry and insecurity bedeviling the region. One of the consensus was on a position to suspend all mining activities for a period of 6 months. Would this help the situation? What do you make from the resolutions from their meeting yesterday, sir?
I think I'm happy that the governors can now smell the music. And like I always put it mildly, insecurity anywhere is a threat to security everywhere. Some of these governors, especially the northern governors, in my opinion, became too comfortable with the insecurity around them, maybe likely because they are not direct victims. It's so easy to sit in the State House, issue press statement, make broadcast, send money, send emissaries to people. But I think the insecurity is coming closer home. When you begin to look at states like Zamfara, Katsina, and a number of them is coming closer home. And everyone knows that if they don't stand up, speak as a single entity. I think it was the meeting of the Southern governors, especially the Southwest governors, that actually led to the question that we discussed last week. That in my opinion, my candid opinion, the people who should first meet shouldn't even be the Southern governors. I'm aware there are security breaches in the South, but the scale, the frequency in the North swallows anything that is actually happening southward. But you see them, they are okay. You see them in Abuja every other day, and their state is practically under the dense what's it called attacks of bandits, these kidnappers and terrorists. So I was excited yesterday when they eventually met, and the far-reaching decision to first stop mining, because apart from the socioeconomic issues that have been the major driver of insecurity up north. The second thing that have been identified, the second major driver of insecurity in the north is actually the mineral deposit up there that have become a tense issue between the major players. Many people actually don't know that there is a contestation for power that actually aggravated the insecurity in the north. I think some scholarly works have been done in these regards. I've been privileged to read some of the very detailed job done by a few of the different research and training institutes in Nigeria, like the NIPS in Kuru, and a number of them. And they've all identified mining as one of the three major causes of the aggravation of the insecurity we have found in the north. Some politicians have a foothold there. Many think it's just politics money that these people are after. No, there is also the huge mineral deposit that the people you call gatekeepers, they are the ones in charge of some of these minerals, and they have guys that they give guns to, give some of these things to ensure that their mineral interests are protected in this area.
Now, Mr.
This
Seun,
is private. This is privy information.
This information is one that has also been backed by particular findings where we have seen the list of terrorism financiers and illicit funds traced to illegal mining all being made public. Why is it that there's still some lack of political will to prosecute those whose names are on the list, which you now have alluded to as well?
Sadly, one of the reasons why we've had a frosty relationship with the US in particular was that it became a bit difficult for US to trace the movement of some funds in going across that region of the world. You know, before now, what our people do is that they get these resources from, they steal from government till, convert it into dollars, freight it to these Western countries. So it's easy for US to monitor the trail. But what we have seen a few years ago is that these resources actually come from the mineral deposit. And so the movement, they really can't trace that this is a stolen fund from government activities. That's why when people say politicians up north, they are stealing government money, yes, they are, like their colleagues in the south, but a huge chunk of the resources in the hands of these folks, to be honest with you, is not from public till. It's actually from illegal mining. And so to protect this, what they do is that they ensure that their allies are in power, so that political power, state power, can be used to protect them. And so I was trying to say that from a privy information, most of these mining sites, all right, they are actually secured by government paid security personnel. You will see military guys securing mining site. You will see police mobile guys, NSCDC guys securing mining site on the behest of their allies holding political power. But you have gatekeepers across various places. It is very rift in Zamfara, part of the very rift in Zamfara, in Katsina, and a part of these places in Bauchi and the rest of them. So it is now, and Kaduna, I forgot to also mention Kaduna, very rift there. So what we are saying, these people in political power, they know. They can't pretend because you will need their cover. So after a while, when these folks who are doing banditry and the rest of them are now aware that there is serious money here, what they do also is to go there and demand for their own area. So from previous information, especially in Niger State and Zamfara, these two states, somebody who is also into mining told me this some times ago, that they will come and say, oh, we also want to come into this business. We will protect you. We will make sure that rival groups don't come and attack you. So they will simply give them their place, hire their own guys. They'll be mining there, get their things and sell it across the. So it's a huge business that is going on there. And that's why it's
enforcement is another challenge. Whilst we have identified this terrorism financing and illicit fund transfer associated to mining in the northern states, how can we be sure that the 19 states can truly enforce a position to suspend all mining activities for a period of 6 months? Do you think that there will be compliance in this different interests from different groups?
Sadly, I don't see it working, but not in all the states. In other words, not all the 19 governors are complicit. I don't know if you get the point I'm making. There are some states. There are some states. I can assure you, I won't mention their names. The 6 months suspension of mining will not work because of the daredevil individuals who are behind these mining activities. And I'm talking about individuals that can call the bluff of sitting governors. So, like their colleagues in the South, if they want this to work, they need to now go with clean hands and go back. That's why many of them had actually been antagonizing the idea of state police. That's why they have been antagonizing it. They know what it means. And so if they can go with their hands and go to the president and say, hey, we have lost it in our area, but give us the federal protection. So if they can turn their eyes and allow the military guys to do their job unhindered, unlet, unfettered, then we will see some semblance of sanity. But can we trust these people to do it? I think political expediency will always trump the security of life and people, like we have seen over the years. Because the governors, their families, their immediate relatives, most often than not, are not even in Nigeria. So I don't see them in a few of these states. I really don't see them ensuring that this thing. But a number of them, you can give it to them. They are not that. I think some of their guys there, they can call them and say, no, you have to stop this for the security of our state. But some of the governors have lost that moral high ground to be able to do that. So I don't see it working in some states.
Now, let's look at another angle of the resolution as reached yesterday at the Kaduna Summit. Whilst there is a decision to suspend mining activities for 6 months, on the other hand, the joint position was to back the institutionalization of state police. They went a step further by also saying that there would be a monthly contribution of 1 billion naira from each state. The math on ground is that they are supposed to unveil a 228 billion naira security fund. What do you make of this? I know over time the debates on security votes and how governors use them have been put into question. This is not the first region that is looking to do this. Last week we were also discussing another region that decided to unveil a joint security fund. How much should we make of this? And should it be also subject to scrutiny from citizens of this state as to how the money is gotten and put to use?
That's another food for the boys. The security fund, in my opinion, is just another opportunity to get at least resources to be able to support whatsoever initiative they are putting up, which is welcomed. But I think beyond that, the major issue will be the political will to ensure that the law takes its course. And when I say the law, that will include our defense, military, policing side to be able to do their jobs unhindered. Virtually, most of the communities that are impacted negatively by this insecurity, they are actually willing to cooperate with the constituted authority to ensure that there is a semblance of peace, relative security across the length and breadth of the country. Sadly, I'm not saying we don't have a few bad eggs who would work in cahoots with terrorists and kidnappers to do their heinous job. But the majority of the people want peace. They want some semblance of security in their areas. If those who are the ends of affairs would also just have the political will to back the institutions of government, like the military, the police, to do their job the way and manner they ought to do it. We should stop seeing these shameful displays that we see in the north, where governors will give their commissioners, their SAs, local government chairmen, they go ahead to have meetings with terrorists, kidnappers, and bandits in full glare of camera. And people with political power will now give gun cover by our trained military personnel. I think it's disgusting. It's shameful. It's not something we should be seeing. We have seen it. I think it's enough. I don't know if it was part of their resolutions in the Kaduna meeting that they should stop these negotiations with these guys. They should support, rather, this their security trust fund should be an opportunity to give all the support. It should not be another point that in a few months we'll be coming here and somebody is complaining that they are stealing the money. They should give all the needed support, financially, morally, and the tactical support that is needed by the civil populace. In this instance, the governed and the government, the governors, local government chairmen, if they really want to give all the intelligence required, they have it. They know these people. They know where they are. I read a story a few days ago in one of the northern states, how Sokoto, to be precise, a group of bandit kidnappers came to town. They took some people and started demanding for ransom. And the community, they already had enough. All they did, they knew the exact people who came to do the kidnap. I want to believe why they were doing it. They saw them. All they did was that the community also, using their internal security arrangement, matched to the parents, relative wives, and the kids of the kidnappers, also kidnapped them. And so when the call came in about how much they will pay so that they can release the folks, they just carried the phone and gave to their parents, their wives, their children, and say, we also have them here. So if you want your people to be safe, release our people. And I learned within 48 hours, those guys, they in fact gave them transport money, released them back to the village. That's the type of thing we'll see if our government have the political will to allow those who are saddled with the responsibility to get their jobs done. Like I said before, insecurity anywhere is a threat to security everywhere. We have heard about a deputy speaker kidnap. Very soon, we are going to hear about a governor that will be kidnapped in this country. If we continue,
we don't pray for the worst, but it's quite alarming how these abductions go unhinged and undeterred. The NSA the other day was making a pledge following a meeting with one of the Catholic priests for the abduction of pupils from a Catholic school, saying that some of these kids are doing well and they will soon be reunited to their family. It's the position of the government which has been made clear over time that they do not support ransom payments. But in the other hand, a lot of persons are pointing holes in that statement, saying that it seems to be emboldening criminalities and abductions when respective state governments still go out there, have agreements with bandits, pay levies, pay ransoms to obtain the release of those abducted. What's your position on this matter?
You see, there are some sensitive information that is not meant for the camera. That's the truth. Let me be honest with you. There is no nation in the world, including the almighty USA, that don't have a semblance of bargain. The term negotiation, the term plea bargain, we did not originate them. these are vocabularies that we got from these same countries. So they negotiate when there is a need to. They do what they call back channel arrangement. They do it. Some of these things are documented and classified. In other words, even as a journalist, I can't just pick the information and run with it. So I think these are the areas that our National Assembly have to tidy up. Some information should be classified, except maybe a court of law ask that such information should be availed to the public. And we have seen it in the United States. Death of president, some issues in the White House and in other corridors of power, they are classified until sometimes 50 years and even more before court says, no, by the passage of time, the public should really know what happened several decades back. These are the type of things, ingenuity, I think our National Assembly needs to be working on. On the question, is there a need to negotiate with, like for instance, where you have school children and the terrain is very bad, and you know that if you want to use your military, you just weigh it. It's about what we are taught in economics, scale of preference. So sometimes you just need to send emissary. They go there, talk with them, and what they need you give to them, but it shouldn't be something for the camera. But where you have in full glare 100, 200 bandit terrorists on motorcycle coming to the community, and you see military personnel, sometimes they hug. Sometimes I saw in one video, the bandit was smoking and another military official was there. No country does that. And it just makes us begin to wonder, are we a serious people? So I think on that note, we have no business doing that. We saw what the late President Yar'Adua did with the agitators in the Niger Delta. We were using the barrel of gun, but we were not making progress. Then the idea of amnesty came. And since then, we've had relative peace. We don't have issue of bombing and all of that in the Niger Delta like we were having at the time. Somebody might say those are agitators. Yes, but that was something that was needed at the time, and it worked for us. But in this case, you are bringing terrorists, bringing bandits, and in fact, communities, kings, local government chairmen pay taxes, pay levies. No, that's ridiculous.
Well, let's come to another angle to this discussion, and it's based on the hopes that state police would come to fruition. There's also been the question of the directive by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that all police escorts for VIPs be withdrawn. On the alternative, the NSCDC now becomes the fishing pool for some VVIPs who need armed protection. An investigation earlier published on the Blueprint talked about how a 63,000 workforce of the NSCDC would not be sufficient enough for the VIPs who need them as protection or cover. What does this do to the NSCDC, and was the initial thoughts when that arm was created? I thought it was supposed to be for the protection of public facilities and all the edifices of government.
I understand that school of thought, that the initial arrangement was for the NSCDC to protect amenities, infrastructures of government. But what that school of thought also does not quickly put into perspective is the fact that the police also were actually created primarily to handle internal security breaches in the country. The question today, are the police, are they doing that job? Everyone will say, no, they are not doing the job. In fact, there is now, we went ahead and created an elite arm of the Nigeria police called what we usually call the MOPO, the Mobile Police Force. But yet they cannot handle the type of insecurity that has bedeviled us internally in the country. This just on a mild note. I don't know if you have been around a situation where police guys were deployed to quell internal insecurity breaches in the country. And the guys don't shift ground. And they are practically confronting the police guys, go away. And when the information gets maybe to the hierarchy and they send the military guys, the same guys who were confronting police guys, you see all of them take to their heels and run away. So that is the situation. Police could no longer handle what constitutionally should be their role. So we have to draft in our military folks. So I think that is the same for the NSCDC. So I really don't see anything that is wrong there. But the shortage of manpower, in my opinion, gives an opportunity for the federal government to think creatively. If a VVIP requires civil defense protection, it should not be for free. They should pay for it. So it shouldn't, if we do that, then we shouldn't have difficulty, all right, employing more hands. So if you need 10 civil defense and the evaluation is done, and it's clear that you actually require that number of civil defense personnel, you should also pay for it. I think those are some of the creative things that we see somebody like President Donald Trump bringing to how government men and resources should be used. We should also borrow a leaf. Let's begin to surcharge people for who need their services. Since we don't trust ourselves enough, I made a suggestion in one of our meetings that for me, this insecurity also affords us an opportunity to also gain the positives from insecurity. And the fact that possibly we should recall some of our retired military veterans and give them a role to be the ones who can have the license to train private security outfit. I've raised that suggestion in a forum. We should license them so that we can now train people properly. Things like, VIP defense and the rest of them. That will be a huge market, since we have gotten to a point where an average elite does not feel safe without somebody beside him, whether in plain shirt or in military uniform. That should be a huge market for us. We should exploit it. Call our veterans. Let's pass a law, maybe an emergency law, and say that if you are so cadre, maybe from we can put it from a second lieutenant to maybe a general, you can be licensed, even gain support to start up, but you pay back. You can now train private security outfits how to properly get their jobs done, but you are going to go through all the military or the paramilitary vetting. And so we have a big business, the pool of unemployed guys across the length and breadth of the country, boys and girls who will fit that spectrum. Let's hire them and let them be the ones providing private guard security to our elite who really feel uncomfortable working without somebody behind them, either in military or plain uniform.
Issues and come to a more politically breaking story from Osun State. Now, this is in the wake of a post made on social media by the governor of Osun State, Senator Adeleke, where he announced his resignation from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in a simultaneous post on his Instagram and X handles, saying that ward executives, in his words, have received his letter of resignation. Now, this is coming amid confusion on directives about the Osun Guber primaries. Now, the PDP at the national level has issued a different directive from the PDP at the state level. What do you make of this resignation by the governor, first off, and the difference in orders or notices from the PDP at the national and the state level?
I think you are doing the job of an anchor, trying to be moderate. Do we really have a PDP at the national? We have two national officers.
The factions, we're losing count of the factions as well as it goes by the day.
Yeah. So you see this coming, and unfortunately, like many of us had said for several months, that the PDP will be the one to nail his own coffin. And that is sounding like it now, that the PDP is actually, it has dug his own hole and is just doing everything possible to ensure that it sees the demise of that political party, and is unfortunate. Issues that can be resolved. This issue escalated immediately after their presidential primaries before the 2023 general election. That was when this whole issue escalated. They've had crisis, but it never got this bad, this worst. Internal issues that could have been managed. But now you see one of the factional national public secretary always issuing press statements instead of them to go back and see how they can salvage what is remaining of their party that is currently in ICU. What they are doing every day is to buy hammer and nail to see how they can quickly construct the coffin that we finally bury the PDP. But it's sad. The federal or the factional national statement, when I read it, I said, no, you can't do this. You have lost enough governors. Someone is in between, thinking whether to go or not. And by the INEC timeline, he was the only one who had the ticket to Osun Guba election. He was the only one who bought it. And instead of going there quickly, send your delegate, how can we resolve this issue? Because he will be the biggest loser. Rightly or wrongly, is entitled to a second tenure to contest again. And he already has the PDP ticket. You expect the PDP immediately to start talking to see how they can reconcile and present a united front. Everyone goes to the camera and is threatening the other side. And so you really have left the governor with no alternative than to go to a place where he will be sure that the person who will sign his form to INEC will be the constitution, will be the legally recognized version of the political party. So that's where we are. And issue, is quick. I saw another press release by Emma Bong, and it was like charity should begin from the president should make sure he protects the opposition. No, the opposition should put his house in order. We are not seeing a serious opposition. They should first sit down, Jojo.
Mr. Seun, are you still with us?
Resolve their issue so that they can now present a united front. You can't have it divided and you are complaining about such things.
Well, we will see if we can accommodate one more question just before we go. It's one of the stories off the back of the coup in Guinea-Bissau. The PDP seems to have much to say about it, saying that Guinea-Bissau is not the only state or country that needs preservation of its democratic tenets. This is in the wake of news that Nigeria is granting asylum to the opposition presidential candidate Costa as it stands. We'll just get your thoughts in a minute or two because we're out of time on this.
I think that was the right thing we should do as a big player on the continent and in the subcontinent. We've done the right thing. The PDP, in my opinion, they are just being cheeky and petty. Like I said earlier, the PDP has no one to blame. There is a saying in Yoruba that if there is no crack in the wall, the lizard will have no place to hide itself. It was a crack in the PDP that gave the sitting government the opportunity to purge their governors, purge some of their leaders, and every day that once robust umbrella is unfortunately getting into tatters. And the PDP cannot blame the government, it cannot blame the president, it has only itself to blame. And the better, the quicker it realizes this fact, I think the better for it. because it's still in the ICU. It means it still has oxygen on its nursery. A bit can still be done if the right moves are made. But this blame game and playing petty, cheeky, press statement, going to grandstand on TV shows, I think will not heal, will not help the PDP to revive his fortunes before 2027 and going forward. I think that's my opinion. Nigeria has done well, where you have a military takeover from an opposition who had actually done his job to nearly unseat a sitting president on the continent. The military came in. Many people are excited because Mbalo, the sitting president, had also been sent out of power. But you really don't know what it meant to the opposition, who had been in a weak position for many years and now had been able to garner national support to now gain power, and somehow the military strike. I think is a disservice. The greatest loser here are actually the opposition. So Nigeria,
all right,
Costa, and that's the right thing.
All right. Well, we must thank you very much for taking our time to tend to this discussion with us. And in keeping with the seasons, permit me to say season greetings to you and a happy new month. Welcome to December. We wish you the best of the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, and do have a great day ahead. Always a delight to be here, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Seun Oni is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Courier newspaper and served as our guest reviewer on the issues in the news this morning. We'll take a break, and when we return, our second focus is on understanding Nigeria's new tax law ahead of takeoff on the 1st of January 2026 when the new tax regime takes effect. We'll have on the program a tax analyst to walk us through what to expect and some of the gray areas in the tax laws. Stay with us.